You're watching Beyond 100 Days with Nifemi Oguntoye. President Tinubu, since he assumed office,
Hello, and thank you for joining the midweek edition of Journalists Hangout. I am Esther Mokwariola. Today on the program, EFCC arrests former Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika, slams Emefiele with fresh charges as Commission's chairman vows to resign if former Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State is not prosecuted. And later on the show, Ganduje summons Governor Ayedatiwa 15 governorship aspirants over Ondo APC primary outrage as Jimoh Ibrahim Omogoroye file appeals against result. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Emeka Madnagu. Journalist Hangout starts now. Right, let's begin with insecurity and the conversation on ways to tackle the menace. At the opening of the Nigeria Governors Symposium organized by the United States Peace Institute, the governor of Katsina State and the chairman of Northwest Governors Forum, Diko Rada, said tackling insecurity requires collective effort. Speaking on the theme of the opening session, drivers of insecurity and opportunities for stabilization, Governor Rada explained that his administration has taken several efforts to fight insecurity in the state. Let's hear from the governor.
So you can see the level of poverty that exists in that community, which needs to be addressed. As long as you didn't address the level of poverty in that community, you have opened door for more groups into that activity. And the more you kill, the more you have people into it. So they will move to Zamfara State. But if something is being done in Zamfara State, they will also push them back. So we can be able to address and eliminate the issue drastically. And the non-kinetic approach also has to be collective. Because if I'm able to fight poverty in Kazana, if Zamfara is unable to fight poverty, that means those people that are impoverished in Zamfara will move to my state. Because there is no any demarcation that stops movement of citizens from one state to another. So it is really good to address the issue holistically and in a regional approach, and then at the national approach entirely, so that we'll have peaceful and prosperous country.
Big girl, let's begin with you on this. What's your position on what he just posited in that conference?
Listening to him, these are some of the suggestions that I had made before. If you want to employ military means against bandits, you cannot succeed by employing the piecemeal approach. You must launch attacks simultaneously across the contiguous states. Because he said something, he said that if you are doing something in Zamfara, you have to also do a similar thing in Katsina. If you launch an attack on Zamfara, they will run into Katsina to hide, because the states are interconnected, and in fact they used to be part of one big state, you know, in the 60s. So, and there are facts that we can deploy to argue that point effectively. When Katsina granted amnesty to bandits, Zamfara did not grant. Some of the bandits in Katsina moved into Zamfara to continue to
perpetrate crime,
kidnap people, and all of the crimes that they are familiar with. Because the ones who had accepted amnesty were killing those who did not want to accept amnesty, in order not to give them a bad name that government has made promises to us. We've been given amnesty. So why should we still continue to kidnap people, to rustle cattle and all that? So seeing that they were facing the heat from their own colleagues, they fled into a state where amnesty was not in place. So if we want to do amnesty, it has to be done across board, across all those contiguous states. When we talk about the contiguous states, we are talking about Niger, Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, even up to Kebbi, because they were all part of the same northwestern state, many years ago. So, and if you are adopting the rapprochement approach, which is to make peace with them, or to give incentives to discourage them, you must also do that across the contiguous states. If you leave other states and you simply focus on one state, we can't achieve the desire.
Right.
So that is the point that I can take away from what he said. And I've always suggested that don't give them any room to escape. Right. If you want to use military means, launch it simultaneously across those states. There will be no escape for them. Well, that's not what we do. We've never conducted a military campaign across all of those states at the same time. We've never done that. Maybe we simply don't have the resources.
That's what I was to say that.
Because those places are very big.
Yeah.
There are some local governments in some of those states that are bigger than some states. In Zamfara, for example, there is Maru local government. It's one of the biggest in Nigeria, with some of the most dangerous forests in this country. So how do you deal with all of those problems? You want to launch a military campaign, it will require plenty of troops. It will require a lot of bombs, and all of the munition that you need for a large-scale warfare.
Yeah. Emeka, what's your position from this now, and what other options do you think we can explore in tackling banditry and nipping it in the bud once and for all?
Yeah, basically, one thing is that these bandits are largely mobile. They move from state to state. When there's heat on them on this, from this state, they move to another state. And because they can move around easily on motorcycles, so it enables them to, go through bushes, and through remote villages. Then, of course, you just find out that they spring, surprise attacks on, travelers, on security agents, and on villages, So I think basically the government ought to sustain the fight against poverty.
Right.
Very seriously to draw a lot of people out of poverty. Because, what these bandits do is that they take advantage of the fact that a lot of people are in a helpless situation. And when they offer them some cash, they can get ready recruits. And so government needs to really get to the heart of the banditry itself.
The driver.
What's the process?
Right.
What gives them that motivation? Because as it seems now, it's basically criminally driven. There's no ideology, there's nothing. So what even gives them that impetus to be able to keep, doing these things, keep running this, running their criminal operations? And then how can government bring out draw more members, more of those bandits who are willing to surrender, who are willing to,
surrender their arms,
who are willing to step away from banditry. How can they get them out? And then for those of them who are caught, how many have been prosecuted? That's what Nigerians keep asking, because if you ask Nigerians to give you information, it's full information, you also have to show the records of those who have been prosecuted.
Right.
So that Nigerians can be
That's
confident.
right.
Because if they go and give information, the information has to be taken in confidence. It should not leak to the same bandits who will go back and attack the people. They may not get information from security agencies, but they can guess that, okay, these people gave information that led to the killing of maybe some of their leaders or their members, then they now go and attack villages. And generally, it should be the same approach, all over the country. I know security agencies are really doing a serious job, a big job, fighting insecurity. I mean, let me just give you a story. What happened to me on, on Sunday?
Right.
I went for the burial of, one of my in-laws.
You have less than a minute.
Yes, okay. My sister's husband's father, somewhere in Umaya. And then on my way back to, the driver, in trying to avoid police checkpoints, the numerous police checkpoints, I took a detour. And guess where we passed through? The heart of unknown government territory in Imo State. And some youths blocked us on the way. You could see them, their eyes showed that they were really heavily drugged. But by the grace of God, they left us to go. And if we saw a lot of villages deserted, empty. No chicken, no goats, no human being. In villages, it was a rare chance to see the heart of, that unknown government territory. And we moved through, it was shocking. And I said, we even saw a burnt police Hilux van, a burnt keke napep. So villages totally deserted. So I can imagine that this is a situation in the north, in parts of the north, in different places. People have been displaced totally. Government needs to push these people out and get the people to begin to return to their villages.
Right. Let's hope that the needful is done in the interest of the people. Well, let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where in a courageous act, the family of a bride-to-be and a group of passengers thwarted a kidnap attempt by killing tourists in Zamfara State. The incident occurred when they were ambushed by bandits along the Talata-Marafa-Gusau highway on their wedding to buy wedding materials in Kano. Though one of the bandits managed to escape, the brave passengers killed one and captured 2 AK-47 rifles. PKO, one would say, every day for the thief, one day is for the owner.
Yes.
So this is a situation of what happened.
No, they saw an opportunity that they could exploit, because if they were more than that, they would not have tried it, because the bandits will have wasted them. These are bandits who sometimes ambush soldiers and kill soldiers. So they have some weapons that people can only see in their dreams. So they felt, look, these people are not enough, and that they could overpower them. And they summoned that courage. Even Chibok guests, some of them summoned courage, jumped down from the truck that was taking them into the Sambisa forest. Some escaped. The government college, government science secondary school, Kankara in Katsina. When those boys were kidnapped, some of them escaped. So I'm sure some brave boys among them was afraid, what's going on? The 3 of you can't overpower us now. Yeah. So, because the alternative is they could be in captivity for months, 6 months. Look at the students of the Federal University, Gusau. Some of them were only just released after about 6 months in the hands of the bandits. They are hard-nosed negotiators. They would try to get as much as possible. So you could be on it for months. So these guys have helped themselves, and I'm happy for them.
But this is something I would like to see in terms of self-defense for the people who are usually prone to
you must use
violence.
your brain. You must use your brain. it's not every time that you can try to play the hero. If you can see clearly that you can't overpower them, what's the point? They will just waste you. But there were 3 of them, and I think on a bike.
Yes.
And they must have felt, look, what the hell, these 3 guys, they can't overpower all of us. You know, it takes a lot of courage and hot-headedness to confront this kind of people. But seeing that they were just 3, they thought, well, it makes sense, let us try. Fortune favors the daring.
Fortune favors the daring, like
yes,
you say.
and on this day, fortune favored them. On another day,
it might not be the same.
Yeah, I disagree with governors who say the people should defend themselves. They bring rocket-propelled grenades to people's communities, and you sit in your government house telling people to defend themselves. Do you know, even the newly formed Zamfara Vigilance Services, if you know how many of them have been killed. They've killed, in one day, they killed more than 40. In one day. So they've been paying with their lives because they are not thoroughly harmed like the bandits. That's why we want state police. But state police must back, the law must back the state police to the point that they can hold high caliber weapons that they can use to overpower the bandits. But if you simply approve state police and you won't allow them to carry assault weapons, you give them den guns against AK-47 and AK-49. It's absolute nonsense. So the law must empower them to carry the same kind of weapons that the adversary are carrying. That way it will be balance of terror. You know that, yes, you are in position to defeat them.
Emeka, you know, from what BKO is saying, yes, the fortune smiled on these passengers and they were able to overpower these bandits, but it goes beyond just, you know, defending yourselves. Now, the government should wake up to the responsibility of protecting their citizens. But be that as it may, what would you propose as a means to, I know you've said a lot about, you know, poverty and all of that, but seeing this as a recurring issue in these northeastern states, what would you propose as measures so the government, you know, does the needful and not allowing the people to take the law into their hands?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, while that drama was going on, you know, after the drama, one of the passengers died. You know, he had a heart attack and died. I think, you know, there has been this call over many years that government should, you know, either allow Nigerians to carry arms or train Nigerians in handling arms, or convert the NYSC into, you know, a training pool of young Nigerians, you know, in handling weapons and all of that, and defense, you know. So all of these things, government needs to consider things, because the people are getting fed up. They're getting tired. They know, yes, the government is trying its best. Security agencies are, you know, really being stretched to their limits. But if you must involve the citizens, then to what extent do you want to involve the citizens?
Right.
What do you actually want them to do? They cannot just remain docile and just sit back. Then people go attack them, burn their villages, burn their markets. And the only difference is just that these other people, they are holding AK-47 rifles. And the victims, are not holding any rifles. If it was an equally matched, you know, position, there, of course, you know definitely that it will be a balance of terror, and it will not be so easy. You know, I know, yes, there are countries where people are allowed to carry arms, but violence is still very, very serious. You know, I mean, look at a place like Mexico. The violence there is really, you know, it's heart-rending. But be that as it may, if government cannot allow every Nigerian to carry arms, then let's move faster on state police. 1. 2, the vigilantes. You know, when you travel to many states, you see the vigilantes. They are the ones who actually even go in deep into some of these areas. Yes, into the hinterlands. You know, even though you see them, like I saw in Abia State, I saw, the military, the police, vigilantes, on joint patrol in a long, column. I think that makes sense, so that you don't just go with 1 or 2 vehicles and then you can be overrun. Go in columns, so that if there's any attack, you can deal decisively with that challenge. And then, let's just bite the bullet and get these vigilantes trained and properly armed. But there's, whatever law, the laws that will guide the establishment of state police should be such that place responsibility in terms of handling of arms, in terms of, human rights and all of this, handling of suspects and all that. But you see, we cannot continue to pretend that this matter has not gone, that the handshake has not gone beyond the elbow. This thing, insecurity, is a serious threat. A lot of Nigerians have been left unproductive because they are in IDP camps. I told you of the villages I saw sacked, and those are villages that have farms. The farmers now, you can imagine, those farms have just been left there lying fallow. Maybe the animals have died and things like that. And the people moved elsewhere to strange lands. They cannot, so this thing, we must get to that point where we say, yes, enough is enough. We must take decisive steps so that when you can assure the citizens that, yes, they can be confident to go back to their, to places they were displaced from, you will see more action. You will see more cooperation from the people. Right. And then we will defeat, you cannot totally defeat insecurity, but you can curb it to the barest minimum. And then, of course, if there are jobs, electricity government should do something. I know they're making efforts decisively by electricity, because when you go out there, a lot of unemployed people, they say, if we can get electricity, we can get employed. We can employ ourselves, right. We can get, deploy our skills and things like that. So all of these things will go a long way in getting a lot of people off the unemployment market and getting them gainfully employed. I know there are those that even if you have 24-hour electricity, you have everything, they will not want to work. Yes, you can now, put those ones through rehabilitation or counseling. But for those who are willing to work and, be self-employed, I think government should take decisive steps to help them. Yes.
They say the devil's mind, and I don't mind to say the
devil's workshop. Yes.
So if we are, do the needful.
So many idle youths out there who really want to work, able-bodied youths, but they're just hanging around in street corners and in different places.
All right, let's quickly go on a very quick break. So on to Journalist Hangout. We'll have more discussions in just a moment. Just stay with us.
I actually came to pay the money for the recruitment consultancy you did for my company. Beautiful. I took 2 million.
Just hold on. I now collect dollars.
What?
Yes. I don't understand what's happening to Naira these days. So it's going to be 2 million times today's exchange rate.
Doctor, wait. Doctor, wait. Don't tell me you are one of those people who directly put pressure on the Naira and make it lose its value. You want to dollarize our economy, and yet you pretend as if you don't know what is happening to the Naira. I've told you about how you abuse the Naira by spraying and stamping on it during your occasions. You deface and abuse the Naira as if it's not our national asset.
But you have to take it easy.
How? I will not take it easy. And neither will the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Task Force on Currency Abuse and Forex Malpractice take it easy with you. They are coming for you. Desist from economic sabotage, or you will face the wrong.
Now, the dilemma over the attempt to prosecute the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, is putting the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission under the spotlight. But the EFCC chairman, Ola Olukoyede, has vowed to pursue it to a logical conclusion. Olukoyede vowed to resign as EFCC chairman if the embattled former governor of Kogi State is not prosecuted. He also vowed that those who obstructed the arrest of Bello will be brought to justice. Meanwhile, the anti-graft agency has arrested the immediate past Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, over alleged $8.06 billion naira fraud. The EFCC has also slammed a new 4-count charge on former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, and the fresh charges border on alleged approval of printing 684 million naira at the rate of 18.96 billion naira. BKO, there are 3 issues here to look at. But let me start with Emefiele. I don't know, because it's like that story has gotten a lot of attention, and seeing new counts coming out, one is wondering how much more are we likely to see? Ever since he was arrested, since last year, June, so much has been unraveled, so much has been found. What do you make of what's happening?
Yes, we just want the trial to proceed at a good pace so that justice can be served. A lot of unsavory things happened during his time as CBN governor, and if you permitted terrible things to happen as a public officer, by the time you leave office, the spotlight will be on you, and you will be made to account for a lot of what happened. I know that I didn't do these things alone.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to put everybody on trial. I've seen some people in the CBN dismissed, some directors, top directors, are being dismissed. It means they are not good for the health of the system. So it makes sense. Just serve some form of justice to people. Let them realize that the reward for wrongdoing is punishment. Punishment within the ambit of the law. That is what is being done. Emefiele, I guess at this stage, they are just charging him with all kinds of crimes just to ensure that if he escapes this one, he does not escape the other one. He got an injunction against the DSS to not try him for terrorism charges. That injunction still stays. You will see that in all of these charges, no one has mentioned terrorism. And that was the first charge back then, even when he was a sitting CBN governor.
Yeah.
That's the power of the law. The DSS must have felt bad that they got that injunction, but that injunction has not been set aside. And they've simply moved on to, yes, the DSS handed this matter over to the EFCC, and the EFCC are coming up with fresh charges. The man who investigated his error uncovered a lot of things. Before our eyes, we discovered that CBN paid 6.2 million to election observers. How do you justify that? And the people behind that, they fled. But as a leader, you have to be switched on. There are people around you who want to exploit any loophole, any chink in your armor. But you have to be switched on, ensure that, look, such things do not happen. And how in the world do you explain printing 684,000 naira?
Million naira.
Million naira. And 590,000. 684,590,000. Printing it at 18.96 billion. How do you justify that? So questions have to be answered. Maybe this is the new way of doing things. So we have to benchmark what he has done against global best practices to know whether he has done nothing wrong. But in my eyes, my eyes are not the eyes of the law. In my own eyes, this is shocking. This is inexcusable.
Right.
You can't explain what has happened. As for the matter of Fayose, I mean of... no.
Yaya Bello.
Yaya Bello.
Okay.
As I said on this program late last week, I'll be happy to see him face trial. And I'm repeating it. I want to see him face trial. So that questions, so that just, hold on.
Okay.
So that we can actually discover what happened. Maybe in the course of the trial, we will even discover more facts. What I've said is that the EFCC should stop their needless drama.
Absolutely.
Focus on the ball. That is not what they are doing. Like the press conference of yesterday was utterly needless. You can see what lawyers are saying. And you have a man charged to court. You are coming to address people on the substance of the matter. What is the meaning of that? Focus on having him. Before London Metropolitan Police jailed James Ibori, jailed his girlfriend, jailed his wife, jailed his lawyer, jailed his friend, did they call a press conference to be announcing the substance of the... I mean, this is not how to do these things. Nigerians, they are funny people. They got to where I criticized the approach of the EFCC. That is what they are circulating all over the place. Where I was saying that I would be happy to see him put on trial, they didn't cut that far. They have made up their minds that this is Jide's person. He promoted his, and he promoted more than 300 traditional rulers. How come it's my dad you are talking about? How many of the people who are first-class kings in Kogi are more qualified than my dad? Even some of the people in government house, some of the people, my dad trained them. Like the DG government house, it was my dad's student. You ignore the truth that I said. I compared him to Fayose, that Fayose, when he was faced with this situation, he went there. But I also made the point that they did not serve him a letter. They did not serve him a letter of invitation because they knew he had a restraining order. Without restraining order, if you served him a letter of invitation, it is contempt. You understand? So they knew what they were doing. That's the point that I made. Nigerians, their own version of the truth is what they're interested in. You can try to, and they don't want you to be balanced. But it's against our training as real journalists. I know that the landscape is populated now by people with no training. They don't know how to filter a story. They don't know anything about journalism, but all of them are calling themselves journalists. We can't discard the training that we got because we think Nigerians will abuse us. People tell me sometimes, Ajide, I don't say that. They will come for you. So what? Is it today they've been coming for me? People will come for me, but I have to stay true to the training. And I'm proud to say I was trained by some of the best journalists in the history of our country. So why will I not try to balance a story? That side, when you try to balance, that side they don't want to hear. The side that aligns with their own thoughts, with their own thinking, is what they want to see you talk about. They don't want you to attempt balance. Now, no man by nature, even Mahatma Gandhi said that is perfect. If the EFCC showed him perfection, I have a right to say it. I have many friends there. I have the right to say, look, in what you have done, you made a mistake here. This is what you should have done. And some of what we told them, they are beginning to do it. They are now going before the law courts. You say, okay, let's find a way. So it's not, the EFCC chairman does not have to tell us he wants to resign because there's no reason to resign.
Why is it
You are doing well. You came, you are telling us that, oh, you've achieved this, you've achieved that. Why are you talking about resigning? Does Tinubu look like somebody who will tell you not to put your Abelo on trial? Why are you saying that if he doesn't go on trial? Who says he will not go on trial? Why have you come to a conclusion that he may not go on trial? Did the president tell you by his body language, don't put him on trial? No. And there will be a lot of surprises that people will see. Because where they will expect that this president will step in and say, don't try, it will not happen. God will spare our lives, we'll see. So, Mr. EFCC chairman, you are going nowhere. You are not resigning. Focus on the job. Don't tell us that you want to resign. as far as we are concerned, you may have made mistakes here and there, but you are doing a good job.
Right.
So don't tell us that you want to resign. We need you to do the job. We are tired of EFCC losing cases, especially against politically exposed. Akpobolo came here of Nemasa. They just lost. After more than 7 years. Adoke, they lost that one earlier. Akpobolo came in.
They just lost of Nemasa.
Yes, they just lost again. And we must not say that their processes are wrong. We will talk. We will talk.
Which is true.
It's true. But let's look at the issue that the former aviation minister was also, slammed with charges by the EFCC over 8.6 billion naira fraud. What do you make of this, and what do you see this leading to?
Yeah, if you look at the way the EFCC has outlined it, you just expect that it will be a straight, cut out, a straight case. I mean, where they talked about his brother is serving civil servant, how he got contracts, how he allegedly got contracts for so and so and so, and the money was distributed to people who didn't even do anything. But the fact that he's a civil servant is against the laws and all of that. But I think on that score, one portion should have been taken to the Code of Conduct Tribunal. The way you're handling a Emefiele's case should also handle it. They should also apply that to other such people standing trial. Because I know, for instance, that one of the things ICPC talked about that they've been doing, and which they did in the case of one civil servant, was that they first of all removed the calculated tax on that money and removed it. Okay. Remitted it to government. So if there, when you have such cases, you can also take such people to tax tribunal. Because one, they deprive government of revenue from tax revenue. Government gave money, government approved money for contracts through a minister. And then that money, when it was to be distributed to contractors, they were expected to, pay withholding tax, pay VAT and other taxes. But now you have deprived government of that. Take the person to the tax tribunal. Let the person face charges for that, denying government of revenue. Because it's a very, very serious offense in many countries. It's just that we joke with some of these things in this country. If you charge them with tax fraud, they definitely can't escape on that. Right. But you just find out that you just charge them with money laundering. And they can now veer left, right, and somehow or the other, due to lack of diligent prosecution, as the courts usually, I've said in many cases, the government, the anti-graft agencies lose these cases. So they must broaden their prosecutorial, actions. Yes, right. Such that it will be difficult for politically exposed persons to escape. You don't just look at Emefiele, 3 different courts now. After the DSS are charged him for allegedly owning a weapon for this, then you now brought him here for this. For allegedly printing naira and so and so and so and so. He's going to also give his own defense, which is not, and government is spending a lot of money. I think they should just zero in on the heart of the matter and deal with this thing so that this matter.
So it will be treated.
Yeah, so that it can be treated. Yes, can be prosecuted expeditiously. Right. Otherwise, you might get to a point whereby you just, after you marshaled out your points, it will just pick 1, 2, 3 things. First of all, tell you that he wasn't acting alone, that he had the president, he was reporting to, so he must bring him here to give evidence. That becomes, that might now bring a kind of a conundrum, political conundrum. So I think they should just harmonize these things. Instead of trying taking it for harmonize it.
No one is even sure that's the last.
That is it. So, but when you continue, the man, what you're doing is that, yes, you may be psychologically, in a way, it may be said that they are weakening psychologically. But you know what? Lawyers are not just, they don't just wear their wig and gown for decoration. Sure. They will surely be waiting for you where they will get you and rescue the man. We've seen people who went on, trial from here and there, and, round and round. At the end of the day, what happened? They were freed. Yeah. And they just said,
if you can go before the court to say you didn't have enough evidence,
Yes.
as they said in open court in Adoke's matter.
Yes.
What do you expect the judge to do? You know, what strikes me is when the EFCC gives us the impression that they have a cast iron case against someone, and that person then tells the judge that, look, I'm going to move a no case submission. When the lawyer to an accused person begins to think about no case submission, he thinks that there is no merit.
There's no merit in your case.
So, and we've seen repeatedly, when that happens, they lose. Because Adoke moved a no case submission.
Yeah.
Oronsai moved no case submission. On both occasions, the judges found their no case submission to be of merit. And that's the end. The rate of loss in cases involving politically exposed persons is scandalous. It's something we can talk about. You can't deny that with politically exposed persons, you have a bad record.
Look at even that of look at even that of Yaya Bello.
Very quickly about it, just 10 seconds.
Look at that of Yaya Bello. You know, the man said he had a court order, and then the next thing he said, he said the matter before the appeal court. The appeal court was to rule on the 22nd. Then you still went ahead to file a case. Now the EFCC has withdrawn the appeal, saying that he filed it out of time. So when you go forward and backward, they should follow the process of the law.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, let's quickly move on to our next issue, where the ruling All Progressives Congress is acting fast to ensure that the Ondo State chapter of the party is not engulfed in a post-primary election crisis ahead of November 16th governorship election in the state. The APC National Chairman, Abdullahi Ganduje, has invited all aspirants who took part in the just concluded governorship primary in the state for a parley. The aim is to pacify aggrieved aspirants to ensure a united front for the party in the coming election. Now, 5 of the aspirants, including Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, have filed petitions before the APC Appeals Committee. BKO, did you see this coming? Oh, well, we discussed this about some days ago about the Ondo governorship election.
With the way the contestants were complaining, you must have expected this. They were claiming that they are saying that they want the primaries cancelled because the exercise didn't hold in many of the 203 wards in the 18 local government areas of the state. When you are confronted with this situation, the people who feel cheated would not simply back down.
Right.
They want to do everything within their power to get justice. In this case, the governor has won the election, but as we know, the electoral processes in our country are never perfect. And politicians, they treat election as, if I relax for you, you are going to snooker me. So to ensure that I'm not snookered by you, I will take the steps that will give me an advantage. That is the thing. Politicians, this is the way they reason. And that's why some of us can't be politicians, because it's difficult for us to do some of these things. That I will simply go and hire thugs, because the politician who has not got thugs is seen as a weak politician. What kind of life is that? All big politicians have their thugs.
But there isn't a way to sanitize this style of politicking, if I would use that.
It's getting worse in our country. If you look at the last election, especially the governorship elections, the violence, the level of violence was just terrible. People now, they exploit the rule book. The rule book says where voting is characterized by violence, you cancel the entire election. Now, politicians deliberately sponsor thuggery, sponsor violence in areas where their opponents are stronger. So they make sure that violence takes place so that that opponent does not return the kind of votes that will give him an advantage. So you've gone to his own stronghold to go and cause trouble, knowing that the law says the council election in that place. And the law does not say they should come back and do it. It cancels it, and that person has lost. So INEC has to find a way, by way of digression, has to find a way to deal with a situation in which Emeka sees that I'm stronger than him in a particular constituency, and he rolls out talks to go and deal with
destroys billboards and all those things.
They grab ballot boxes. At the end of the day, I don't have any vote coming from my stronghold. And he will get votes from his own stronghold because I have not responded in kind. So it's a problem. I'm saying that even as we go on, decades into our democratic journey, politicians are still refusing to play the game by its rules. They are deliberately contriving situations that will give them unfair advantage over fellow contestants. That happens. If people can't find enough voting materials or insufficient voting materials, ballot materials are sent to a place, you've disenfranchised people now. Or you bring ballot materials so late. You've discouraged some people from voting, because if they lined up waiting for these people to come and they don't come, some will in anger go back home. We saw where, even in 2019 election, they were voting up till 10:30, 11 p.m. So this idea of, okay, electoral materials not getting to some place, it has to be investigated, because it inexorably will have robbed some candidates of the chance to win. I'm not saying these people could have defeated the governor. I didn't expect anybody to defeat the governor. You know, Jimoh Ibrahim can make a lot of noise, but I knew he would be defeated. He was not even in the top 4. The other woman, Omogoroye, she is one of those protesting now. But I didn't.
In fact, a handful of them are protesting. They're even demanding that the elections be cancelled and new elections be reconducted. Do you see this happening? Do you think perhaps
the entire exercise reconducted? No, they won't do that. They won't do this. It's easy to predict. To do a fresh exercise, APC. No, they won't. They won't do a fresh exercise. Maybe some places they can do. That is if they like. But if they think also that it will not affect the outcome, they won't bother. They won't bother. It happened in Kogi State now. There were some places where the initial prognosis was that they would do a fresh election. But when they saw that it would not alter the outcome, they changed their minds. They just decided not to do. So, I don't see them doing a fresh exercise. At worst, they will appeal to these candidates. Mr. President to be prevailed upon to call them, give them assurances, promise some of them appointments here and there, beg them to work for the incumbent, and they will be told, look, this incumbent has only 4 years. He's not going to get a second term. Yes. He has only 4 years. Work with him. 4 years is not a long time. So they will beg them, the final analysis, to work for the party. Some may not agree, some may do anti-party. They beg them, they will agree. You see them agree, but they will still go and do anti-party.
So, you may even collect some benefits.
Emeka, what's your position on this, and how do you think the APC can unite all of these aggrieved members?
Oh, well, the APC, I think, ought to have learned from previous experiences. Look at how it bungled the Anambra primary election. You know, look at what happened in Edo State, where it almost bungled the governorship primary. You know, I think the party needs to make up its mind about some of these things, you know, so that you don't find a situation where people have strong evidence that they have been cheated. There were cases of destruction of billboards, violence, thugs attacking people. I mean, I think our politics needs to go beyond all these petty things. Because the governor himself has been accused. He's been accused. And it will be very unfortunate if it is true. Because like what some political pundits are saying is that of all the aspirants, you know, of all those who contested, they had the brightest chance. So there wasn't really so much to prove. There wasn't really so much to prove that thugs had to go attacking people, beating people up, you know, destroying ballot boxes and all of that. There was no need for. I think Nigerian politicians sometimes they overstretch themselves. When you should appeal to the people, appeal to your opponent, try to woo people, you know, you now resort to strong arm tactics. I'm just saying if it is true, it will be a big disappointment. But I think APC needs to really put its act in order. Because remember that of Anambra, it was the court that later nullified that said that Anduba, by the way, should not even have participated in the governorship election in the first place. And that was a narrow one. What if he was declared winner of the governorship election? What could have, you can imagine what could have happened. So, looking at that, and then casting their minds back to what happened in Rivers, was it Rivers in 2019, in Zamfara, this thing should teach them a lesson.
Yes.
Because it was
2023.
Yes, it was their own people who did them in. It wasn't even members of other political parties that did them in. So they should just...
The Marafas of this world.
Yes. Tested politicians who know how to upset the apple cart. So the APC...
You know, they don't forgive themselves. When you feel that you've been cheated, because the then governor claimed that there was a consensus. And what the law says is, before you can indeed, before consensus can be accepted, not one of the principal actors must go against it. You know, so if you had 10 aspirants and 2 do not agree to some consensus, that is the end. That's what happened in their case. Some agreed, some didn't agree. The ones who didn't agree went to court. But you claim that it was consensus. They proved that there was no consensus. And then the leadership of the party at national level was also an interested party. They too generated their own list. Zamfara in 2019 was a basket case. They generated their own list. And then Yari was fighting Oshomole over the thing and threatening him, if you come here, both of us will end up in burial ground. You know?
Yeah,
so in the end, the facts to nullify the whole exercise were there for the judges to look at.
Right. So the party indeed, in the end, has to stand as a united front to, address its issues internally. But that's where we have to leave today's edition of Journalist Hangout. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can also watch a repeat broadcast of the show tonight at 11. Join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. And before I go, I'd like to thank my colleagues here in the studio, Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Emeka Madnagu, for bringing their thoughts on the program. And I'm Esther Homopariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Bye, Mom.
He's going to play in this weather? Why did you let him go? He might fall ill.
And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with germ defense gives you protection. Rainy season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's germ defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Now we are not the hurry go like say something they popular.
Oh, Lord, now favor with the sick so.
He did hospital with Mama Favor.
Favor get diphtheria. She did.
Maybe you they carry a go take immunization.
Oh, Lord,
I never give a vaccination before.
But since we born Favor, we never carry and go collect immunization before.
Mama Favor now your friend. You know they tell her.
I tell him. Even Seth, me and my husband follow you talk that time. You dey here when Joy, my sister, born. Every time, they carry him pikin for immunization as he suppose. Even Joy follow collecting COVID vaccine that time.
Now the head of our pikins them, we dey talk for years. If them no collect their immunization, as he suppose be, now their health we dey put for danger. So you no go follow no road.
If your pikin miss to collect any immunization, then go any health center to complete them. Make papa and mama them use that chance collect them COVID vaccine. Call 7722 for more information.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Tired of pans that scratch and stick? Or cookware that takes up valuable space in your kitchen and are of little to no use? Cooking used to be fun, but now it just feels like a chore. Introducing ShopX Gotham Hammered Copper Collection, the perfect cookware to upgrade your cooking experience. The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection features a super durable ultra non-stick surface. Eggs stick to other pans, but with the Hammered Copper Collection, they slide right out. Incredible! Plus, the Cool Touch solid cast handle makes it safe and easy to cook even the hottest dishes. It's oven safe up to 500 degrees, so bake this beautiful chicken stew pizza and serve it straight from the pan. Or this tasty, delicious cake that will have your whole family asking for more. Any recipe can be made in these pans, and then it wipes clean with ease, so cleanup is a breeze. Plus, use your hammered copper pan to make homemade pancakes that flips and slips right out. Or make mouth-watering jollof rice or even fluffy poundo with ease, because nothing sticks.
I needed a culprit to keep up with me. The Gotham Hammered collection has been a game changer. No more burnt meals or hours spent scrubbing pots.
The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection is now available in Nigeria exclusively from ShopX TV. You could be paying over $490,000 for a collection of pans that are not even non-stick. Call the number on your screen now and get it for just 364,950 naira. This incredible ShopX offer includes one 8.5 inches fry pan, one 10.25 inches fry pan, one 1.4 liters saucepan, one 2.4 liters saucepan, one 4.7 liters stock pot, one stainless steel steamer, 4 tempered glass lids. But wait, if you order now, we will upgrade